Hello and welcome to the Team VVV podcast for all your weekly racing game rambles. I'm Martin and joining me as ever is Kevin.
Hi guys.
Alan.
Hello viewers.
And Ed.
Hello everyone.
If you enjoyed the podcast, do give us a like and subscribe because it really helps us out. And this week we are giving away a code for a very, very quirky indie game called Drive on the PlayStation 4. So do check the website for details on how you can win one of those. So obviously this year is coming to a close, so you would think there wouldn't be any major new racing game releases or big news stories to talk about. Well, how wrong you are. Because this week we had the release of Forza Horizon 3 Blizzard Mountain, the first major expansion pack for Forza Horizon 3. I've been playing through it, and I must admit I'm quite enjoying it so far. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Storm Island expansion that came out last year for Forza Horizon 2, but it is pretty similar in terms of the setup.
Right, so is it a separate map to the main map?
It is a separate map, yes. I was a bit surprised.
Okay.
I would say it's relatively small. So yeah, the main thing that really surprised me about the Blizzard expansion is that it's not accessible right from the start if you haven't progressed to a certain amount in the main game. You actually have to unlock all 3 festival sites before you progress into it. I didn't realise this at the time, so I was sort of scrambling around trying to find it. I thought it was a glitch or something, so I kept uninstalling it, reinstalling it. It was a bit of a nightmare.
What is it with open world games lately? I mean, Forza Horizon 3 and the crew is like, you're trying to access new content, and it's very much a struggle, isn't it?
It makes it unnecessarily difficult to access content that you've paid for.
Yeah, I find it really odd. It seems to become a bit of a trend of recent times.
It's a bit annoying.
It is.
Yeah, you eventually get a prompt about this. Hey, want to change the scenery, Martin?
You want to actually access the content you paid for?
Yes, I wouldn't mind that, please. And so yeah, there's a really elaborate cutscene. You fly off to the new map, and I must admit the scene after is it's like something out of Trackmania, believe it or not.
Trackmania? That's a game I wouldn't have thought you'd say.
Only because your car is suspended from a helicopter and it drops you onto the track.
No.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm thinking someone in Playground has played Trackmania this year.
So have you played many modes in the expansion? Is there much variety at all?
I need to explore it a bit more before I can answer that fully, but I've tried a handful of modes.
The main question, how is the ice spray behind the car?
It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's phenomenal.
Right.
You do notice the snow gathering on the bodywork and all of that, but I kind of imagine there'd be bigger trails of snow when you slide through all the different surfaces. I must admit, the surface does seem slightly flat to me.
It's not like the cover photo then, with the car surrounded by cloud, snow and ash.
No, it's not quite like that.
Not quite.
No.
I might be wrong, because I've got to admit, I've only seen an actual blizzard a couple of times.
Yeah, the blizzards are very impressive, aren't they?
I must say the effects in that is, very impressive indeed. So there's these specific blizzard races as well, which are quite challenging, as you can imagine, because obviously the visibility is limited, shall we say.
How does it handle particularly? Is it you can notice the difference when you're on a particularly icy patch compared to just deep snow?
Yeah, so in the first race, you get to drive Ken Block's Ford Focus, the Hoonigan car.
Yes.
Cool.
And it's a pretty fitting introduction, really, because it takes place on the main mountain, so you have big elevations, and all that kind of thing. There's a massive ski jump as well.
Yeah. I guess you took to the handling quite well because you had experience with Carmageddon.
Oh, very funny, yeah. I was going to say there is a bit where you get to drive over a frozen lake, and that is a very good simulation of Carmageddon max damage. You just slide all over the place. I'd say there is a tangible difference between the different surface types. In some ways, though, it is a bit like driving on the main dirt sections on the main game, like lots of traction and that kind of thing. But it's good fun. Yeah,
lots of undersea, I imagine.
Well, the thing is, obviously, you do have snow tires. It's not as bad as you'd expect it to be.
Which it kind of begs the question, doesn't it? When are they going to bring in dirt tires for Forza Horizon?
That's a good point. That is a good point. It's interesting because you can equip snow tires to any existing car in the game, from what I've seen.
Sweet.
So I've been driving a Ferrari F12, for example, in the snow, which is good
I
fun.
was about to say, you've been in any Lamborghinis on the snow or Ferraris?
Yes, or
Really
really
what it's
if you're absolutely nuts.
There wasn't a great deal of vehicles though, was there? I believe there was only 8 vehicles in the expansion, so I was taken back a bit by that.
Yeah, 2 of them are Lanciers as well. I'd say, I would say it could probably do with a bit more car variety.
Yeah, in this case, this is the one occasion where perhaps they were lacking for variety.
Yeah.
Is there any decent rally circuits for Ken Block's car on there? Or sort of tracks, or
There are some dedicated tracks on the snow that are pretty much rally courses. Yes. I mean, obviously you've got the Lancia Stratos, for example. So there is a bit of rally theme going on. It's interesting because it is pretty much a kind of compilation really of the last 2 expansions, because you had the rally expansion in Forza Horizon 1, and then the Storm Island expansion last year with Forza Horizon 2. It really is like the best of both of those, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's good, I mean, we haven't seen snow weather before in a Forza game. It does actually add a sort of new game experience to the core game. It's not just a standard car pack. Would I pay the asking price for it? I'm not sure yet. It's tricky because I would say the map isn't as big as I was hoping it to be, and it is a bit odd how it's separated from the main game.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this was like, well, it looks like this was specifically brought out for a Christmas sort of theme, and because it's quite small, it leads me to believe they're probably going to be working on 1 or 2 more expansions next year for the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a bit conflicted as to whether I prefer last year's expansion. You had some really interesting cars in the Horizon 2 Storm Island, like the Ford Fiesta rally car and things like that. I do feel like the car selection could have been a bit better because, let's face it, we've got a Focus in the game, we've got a Ford pickup and all that kind of thing. There's nothing that new in terms of the car list. I guess obviously Ken Block's Ford Focus is a highlight, but apart from that.
Did they give any indication of whereabouts the expansion is in the world? Because obviously snow in Australia doesn't really make much sense.
Well, there is snow in Australia, as people have been telling me on Twitter. So,
there is?
Yeah, there is, yeah. It'll be in the high altitude areas, the mountainous regions, no doubt. But, yep, there is snow in Australia.
Like I said, it's far away enough from the main map to warrant getting a plane there.
Yeah, I think they looked at it really. It's almost like a visual tech demo. They say, well, it's going to look amazing in photos, and it's going to look amazing as a package, and it's snowing at Christmas, even though Australia it says summer. Let's go with that. So I think there is a certain amount of, like I say, preparing for future products and
absolutely. I mean, like when you think back to the rally expansion, you could argue that was testing the water for a more sort of off-road focused Horizon title, which we got with 3. Perhaps with Forza Horizon 4 we'll see more sort of these snowy areas sort of bunged in on the main map, just as an ultimate playground. They seem to be expanding in different landscapes and that, and so I guess the natural progression now will be more sort of icy areas in the main game.
Yes.
Yeah. Now that they've explored those different avenues, I could see that 4, especially if you consider we're going to have things like the Scorpio around by that sort of time, they're probably going to be able to really start expanding the map and
water amphibious vehicles we'll get.
Submarines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all coming.
So I mean, the main mode I haven't had a chance to check out yet is the hill climb, which I'm quite intrigued about. Yeah,
apparently it's very steep sections, aren't there? So
yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. I mean, obviously the first event is a bit of a taster of that anyway, because you're racing down this huge mountain with lots of big jumps and things like that. I'm trying to think if there's any sort of dedicated hill climb vehicles like you get in Dirt Rally. Apart from, I guess you've got the Lancia rally cars.
I suppose it being in snow, you probably just want to be in a rally car.
Yeah. I do just think that will the novelty wear off? That's the thing. But I'm a bit unsure about how much playability is really in it. I mean, knowing Forza, the actual campaign will probably be huge. Let's face it. But yeah, from what I played so far, it's an enjoyable expansion. I can't really say yet if it's really worth the full price, but it does at least add a new experience to Forza. And if you find the main game good fun, obviously you can't go wrong with the expansion really. And what also intrigues me as well is there is another one coming out at some point. because obviously they launched the expansion pass, which hints at another one coming up at a later date.
Oh, okay. I forgot all about this actually. Yeah.
Good point.
So I'm not quite sure what they've got coming up.
It does make sense, doesn't it? Like bearing in mind the actual size of this Blizzard Mountain pack, that there will be sort of more sort of bite-sized chunk expansions, I guess.
Yeah.
It's annoying that it's not part of like having the ultimate edition of a game, though. I feel.
Yeah, to me that's very surprising because we got the ultimate edition, and we're not
cheap, I should add.
Yeah, and we don't have this expansion. Bearing in mind it's a small expansion, it's not huge. You'd think that'd be bundled in, wouldn't you?
It is an odd decision, I must admit. I'm trying to find the price of it. Actually, I think is it $15.99? I think at the moment, something like that. I think it's on sale or something at the moment. But yeah, the point is the Ultimate Edition is when it first went on sale was $79.99.
Wow.
So you can see why people might not be very happy about paying for another expansion after forking out for that.
Yeah.
It's been quite glitchy as well. A lot of people have been reporting errors when they try and purchase it, and the store keeps asking them to buy it again and things like that.
Yeah, and also the PC. A lot of PC gamers having problems. I mean, I admit I've not been able to get it working properly on my PC either. I've had various problems with frame rate.
Frame rate.
Not properly. I know it happens, but it's just all over the place. So I've not been able to get into it on the PC, get it set up the way I'd like it. It needs quite a powerful PC to run it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have some video content for that coming very shortly. Checking out some of the different modes and locations and cars. So do look forward to that. So I guess moving on then, obviously the main other release this week, something completely different. Couldn't be any more different if it tried. We of course have the release of Drive, which we've made quite a bit of fuss about, it has to be said, the past week or so. Mainly because it's something that's truly different to the genre. Trust me when I say it is unlike anything else you've ever played.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it's the best way to sum it up. Obviously, yeah, go on.
It is a limited experience, isn't it? There's not a huge amount to do, but it's just one of those games that's quite novel. It has this sort of innovation going on, which you don't often find in the racing genre, so it has to be commended for that. It is a one-man developed game as well. It's just a little bit of fun, just a distraction really from the sort of bigger titles that we play all year round, and it's just a little breath of fresh air, I'd say.
Question is though, would you pay $15.99 for it?
It's a bit steep, isn't it? You'd think it would be under £10 an experience like that.
I think that's discounted as well.
Yeah, it's a bit steep.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Blizzard Mountain expansion in that sense. I was a bit concerned about the how long the novelty will really last.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a hard game to get your head around at first as well. I don't know if you found that at first.
The handling I felt was very tricky because the car's understeer, but you had to sort of break the back end out to get it around the corners, and
yes.
You hit the brake and the accelerator, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. It's one of them games that you can't initially pick up and play and be brilliant at it. It does take a little bit of time. There's a slight learning curve there.
No, I find it quite old school in that regard. It is actually quite challenging. It does take some skill to really master it.
And I don't believe there's any tutorials either, so it is old school.
There is a brief tutorial at the start.
Ah, okay. I might have to get onto that then.
I thought you couldn't skip the tutorial. I must admit.
Was it? Oh, the right at the very start. I've forgotten all about it. That's what it is then. I've played too much Drive. You see, I forgot all about the tutorial.
It's quite brief, in fairness. So I'll just take you through the modes. I like how you can smash all the opponents out of the way as well. I know you weren't expecting that at the time.
Yeah, that was an interesting feature, I thought.
Do you know what it actually reminds me of? It reminds me of Burnout Revenge, where you could smash all the traffic out of the way.
I guess, yeah, very loosely based, I guess.
Well, no, the developer actually worked on that game.
Ah, right. Well, there you go then. So he's got the experience and imported that over to Drive.
Well, I said he did the menus.
Oh, okay.
Even so, he's obviously been quite heavily inspired by Burnout. You can really tell in the just the crazy gameplay.
Yeah,
there's definitely an element of destruction.
Yeah.
How did you find the track creator as well?
Yeah, it's one of those. It can be as simple as you like or as complicated as you like, depending on how much sort of time you want to invest into it. And you can link the tracks as well, and you can jump through other tracks, and you could do lots of mad stuff. But it's one of those things that the more you get out of it, like the more time you spend with it, the more you'll get out of it. And if you've got the patience for it, then great, go for it and design all these wacky designs. But yeah, I imagine most people just sort of make a basic track or two and sort of leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly. I can rarely be bothered to invest much time in track creators like that.
Yeah.
I must admit, but it's there for people that want it, and I think it's fair to say it's quite simplified compared to Trackmania.
Yeah.
But what the community create in the next few months.
Yeah.
Personally as well, I quite like the soundtrack as well. The kind of simp soundtrack reminds me a lot of the film Drive, which probably isn't a coincidence considering the name of the game.
Drive Squared.
Yeah, they should have called it Drive Squared.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to play it yet, Alan?
No, not yet. No, I'm busy at the moment, still testing this TS PC racer wheel at the moment. So.
Imagine playing this game with a wheel.
Imagine.
That would be an
just
experience.
imagine the realism. Yeah. The fear.
The wheelism.
Yeah.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it isn't compatible with racing wheels. Sorry.
No.
Who would be sadistic enough to try anyway?
I bet the developer has.
Yeah, probably.
I have to ask him, does it work with wheels? If not, why not?
Make it happen.
Manual gears and cockpit, please.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's got to be realistic, hasn't it? It's got to be realistic. Otherwise, it's just a game for kids if it's not realistic.
Yeah, that wasn't inspired by anyone that comments on our videos at all.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely a pick up and play experience. You can obviously tell by the fact that most races only last one lap.
Yeah. Well, I guess there are one-lap races in this game, but because there's 3 of them, it becomes 3 laps, doesn't it? It's an odd one because you're switching between the different cars, and you're coming up to the finish line. You switch to another track, and then you realise that one of the other tracks is already finished, and you're just about to finish this particular race again. It's like it does get a bit confusing. I can't even explain it. I'm even confusing myself at the moment. But it is an odd concept. But like I said earlier, it's nice to see a bit of innovation. And does it work? I'm not entirely convinced at the moment, but it's just a little bit of fun, I guess. But I would like to see it a little bit cheaper, though. I must admit.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised how steep the price is in a way.
Yeah.
It being £16, especially for obviously, a lot of people probably wouldn't have ever heard of it. It's not a well-known IP or anything like that. So it's a bit of a blind buy, I think. I think it's one of those games that could have done with a demo.
Well, you say that, but the official trailer on the PlayStation YouTube channel, I believe, has done about 120,000 views. It's a staggering amount, so it's incredible publicity there for the game.
Also, if they did a demo, what would it have been? Like the entire game?
It is quite brief, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Or do they maybe make it like a trial or something that runs out
A
after
single lap in one car.
I don't know, I just think it's one of those games that's really hard to explain when you haven't played it.
It is. Yeah.
So I think in some ways a demo would have helped that. Yeah, you got to commend Sony though for actually endorsing an indie game like that and giving it so much publicity.
Yeah, it's about as indie as it gets, isn't it? One man developed game.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is as indie and quirky as you can get for a driving game, quite frankly. Right, I guess we should do some racing game news. We start as ever with Assetto Corsa, a game we never ever talk about on the podcast. We don't give it any attention whatsoever. Basically, the Porsche Pack Volume 1 is now out on Xbox One, but I think we've talked about Assetto Corsa way too much, pretty much every week for the past month, so I think we'll move on to something else.
Fair enough.
Although saying that, I think we're going to move on to Porsche, funnily enough. Because, as we all know, there has been some very big news for Porsche. Obviously, if you've been playing racing games for the last decade, you'll know that most games don't have Porsche unless you're playing Need for Speed. Well, that's not going to happen anymore because their license is finally expiring, and I couldn't be any happier.
Yay!
Come on, so many people have been requesting this for years and years, and they've just remained silent. So it's interesting. This is the first time they've actually acknowledged their deal with EA being exclusive.
Yeah, because we suspected it, of course, but we wasn't actually 100%.
It was the worst kept secret in the.
Well,
industry.
there are sort of subcontracts. Games like Forza Motorsport, they had some sort of Porsche subcontract that allowed them to use Porsche marks in the game. But yeah, it's going to be expiring apparently at the end of the year. So hopefully it opens the floodgates for other racers to sort of jump on the Porsche bandwagon.
How weird would it be to actually play Porsches in Gran Turismo?
Do you know what? That is going to be bizarre if that happens.
It doesn't feel right, does it?
I want my roofs. You know, I miss me roofs. I want them back. Give me Yellowbird. Where's my Yellowbird?
Roof, isn't it? No one cares about roof anymore now.
No.
Yeah, Roof was just always seen as the substitute for Porsche because Polyphony don't have the license.
It's a good substitute, though, isn't it? It's as good as it's going to get, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, it's big news, obviously, because while it has been in Assetto Corsa and a handful of Forza games, it's always been as an add-on. It's never been in the main game.
The base game, yeah.
So,
It was for early Forza games, wasn't it? Or was that before the...
Forza 4, I think, was the first one to have Porsche.
Yeah, I believe the contracts date back to the early 2000s, so it's an awful long time.
Yeah, we used to have a Porsche Forza on the Maple Valley circuit, race round or something.
They brought out Need for Speed Porsche, didn't they, back in, was it 2001?
Yeah. That was probably the start of it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That was such an in-depth game. There's nothing like the Need for Speed you play now.
Well, fingers crossed they don't just renew the contract. That would be a shame.
Can you imagine that? Yeah, it's coming to an end now, so we've just extended it for 10 more years.
Everyone does this massive Mexican wave across the entire gaming community, like, woohoo, Porsche's available, and then like, oh no, we'll just renew that quickly.
Yeah, so I got a quote here from, it came from some German website who asked Porsche about it, and it says that Porsche have always been following what is going on in the games industry aside from EA. The license with EA runs out this year because together they arrived at the realization that the current situation was not desirable anymore.
No, I mean, you know, Porsche will only benefit from this. You know, more Porsche cars in games can only be a good thing if you want to sell your cars.
I mean, Need for Speed was never the best game to really showcase Porsche, was it? Let's be honest.
No.
It was as far away from a simulator as you can get. Well, at least the more recent titles are.
Well, I mean, you don't really need a simulator, do you? You know, you look at it as Porsche's perspective. You want to get people to know about your cars. You want it in as many games as possible. It don't need to be simulators to sell, you know. So it's just about getting your brand out there as much.
Exactly. The more games, the better. You know, you're missing out on Forza Motorsport, on Forza Horizon, on Gran Turismo, on, you know, a range of other Project Cars, whatever, a range of other brands and titles. I think it's good that they've finally come out of that. You know, like you say, we don't know how bound into a stupid contract they've been for some time, but clearly they've finally reached that bit of freedom, which is good for the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get the feeling they haven't really been happy with the situation for years, given that it's kind of it's found its way into Forza and Assetto Corsa.
I think also because Need for Speed games have been a real mixed bag, so they've had one game a year that they're actually in.
Well, there was one game a year, now it's a 2-year gap, so it's no good for Porsche. So.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's even worse now. So, you know, it's not really worked out well for them as a company. You know, and I hated the 2012 Most Wanted. I mean, I slated it in a video. I just thought it was terrible. The game was just so bad. I just couldn't be bothered with it. I met the developer, you know, and he, we had some words. Actually, it was quite funny, sort of. But there you go. I mean, I say it as I see it. There's no point. It
was okay. It wasn't really a patch on Hot Pursuit though. I do have a spot for Hot Pursuit.
It was so bare bones, wasn't it? No presentation.
You guys didn't take too kindly to last year's Need for Speed either, did you? Was it last year?
Yeah, last year.
The problem for me was, visually really nice. I went to a play session. I played it for a couple of days, and then I said, "Well, where are all the people? I mean, there's Ken Block and a couple of racing guys. That's it. Where's the other car gangs? They're also competing for their attention? Where's the other owners clubs that want to meet up and go for a drive and a cruise?
Where's the car culture?
Yeah. Where's the culture? Where's the people? There's nothing there. It's just an empty map. And the cops at the time, well, they were just broken. The cops were broken. So I had nothing to do, basically, other than just go through seeing these sort of video clips. The video clips were all right. I mean, they were fine. They brought the story along. I think the actors tried hard, but they just didn't have enough to work with in terms of the meat and the bones of the game. It didn't get car culture. And the fact that they didn't include a cockpit cam and steering wheel compatibility, I mean, it was just ridiculous. So it was an arcade game. It doesn't need steering wheel compatibility. Okay, Daytona USA. Yeah, it's an arcade game. It uses steering wheels like Sega Rally or Outrun. It's not about what the genre of the game is. They all use steering wheels. It's just, it adds a bit of fun and enjoyment. And when you've got a steering wheel on an arcade game, you can throw that car in and feel like a badass. You know, it's not like the real thing, is it? You know, you have to practice for hours. You know, you just throw the car in there and it drives itself, and you feel like a badass. So, yeah, I think the team need a real rethink in terms of where they're going and what they think car culture is and what gamers want out of these games. I was quite surprised at where the game was, given how confident the developers were, you know, earlier in the year in terms of its stage of development. You know, Need for Speed is a brand that sort of lost its way a bit, really. And I think
for a long time, to be honest. I remember, obviously, a few years back, every single game was radically different from the last.
That's it.
It really lost its identity in that transition period.
Completely, yeah. I mean, Hot Pursuit, I thought was really good.
You
know, but I think the problem is when they started merging Burnout and Need for Speed together, that was when it all sort of started losing its way. I mean, saying that, Need for Speed, I mean, if you go right back to its core on the 3DO, it was a simulator, and the idea was it was a game where you got to drive amazing sports cars that you'll never be able to afford to drive. And I remember playing that to death and loving it, you know, and it was really realistic. I mean, even by today's standards, some of the concept to the handling was really good, and the visuals were, wow, they were off the chart at the time. And then they released the same game for the PlayStation, but they dumbed down the physics to make it like an arcade game, and they, you know, brought in some new music and jazzed it all up a little bit. And then after that, when Need for Speed 2 came out, it completely become an arcade game with really shoddy graphics. And the transition was already underway. You know, it was the transition.
People tend to forget the original. Its roots stem from a simulation game.
Yeah, an excellent simulation game with lots of jokes as well, because it had video content like the new one, but it had this guy who was just a bit corny, but also just a bit of a. And it was pretty funny. So I remember enjoying it. You know, and every now and again the police would arrest you, I think, and chuck you in the boot of their car or something.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, it was good fun. And the police chases were actually quite stressful, because when you were going really fast, you knew your brakes weren't going to be that effective. So it was quite stressful when you were going at speed, trying to get away from the cops. Yeah, good times that was.
Of course, back then too, I mean, it was a bit of a novelty, really, just to see licensed cars in a game.
Yeah.
This is before, bear in mind, this is before Gran Turismo.
Licensed cars modelled and detailed in the way they were. I mean, really amazing at that time. It really
Test Drive. I can't think of anything else at that point, really.
No. Well,
Challenge, maybe.
Once you got to the PS1, you had Porsche Challenge, and then obviously Gran Turismo.
That was a few years after Need for Speed, though.
It was, yeah. Need for Speed was December '94. Need for Speed. So don't forget, the PlayStation wasn't even released till in the UK till September '95. No. So you know, you had a clear, and that release with Bridge Racer, which had made up cars.
Yeah.
If you said to me when was the first PlayStation game with actual cars, I would say nothing did, because Destruction Derby didn't either. You know, it really was just Gran Turismo and Porsche Challenge, and of course Need for Speed. As of course that came out. When did that come out? That came out in May '96 on the PlayStation, and it was released at the same time as the Mad Catz wheel in America, and that's the first time we had a steering wheel like that on the console. I imported one at the time. Goodness me. And enjoyed it immensely, actually. It had split screen mode, which was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the racing. And then when did the licensed cars? You know, they made a meal of it in Need for Speed 2. But then they brought in this sort of Lamborghini hero car in Need for Speed 3. You know, it's been a mess of a brand over the years. I mean, because then they relaunched it with Need for Speed Underground. And I know a lot of people look fondly upon Underground, but I don't. I mean, the game was broken with lots and lots and lots of bugs, and online in particular. And I don't know why people look on it so fondly. It's a strange one. Whereas Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, yeah, graphically it had some nice detail, but it was, again, frame rate was really unstable. But I really enjoyed Need for Speed Most Wanted. I'd say 3DO, PS1 original, and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 are probably my three favourite Need for Speeds.
Yeah.
Just because Most Wanted, it had a great atmosphere. When the music started and the cops were after you, you really felt like you was in a film or something. It felt really cool at the time. And you had to learn this massive map. And in the end, you became practically a cab driver on that place. I mean, you knew where every street was, every back alleyway, every dodgy car park to hide away from the cops. You know, all that sort of stuff. And you needed to, because the cops got pretty heavy. It amazes me that cops work perfectly on that. And yet, or not, I say perfectly, there's 2 sections on the map where the cops couldn't get to you. But then when you play Need for Speed, you know, last year, you know, the cops weren't working properly. You know,
the gameplay with the cops in Most Wanted, the original one, was pretty much perfect. Although I think it could be exploited fairly easily. I mean, I've played it enough now that I can get to Heat 5 and just keep it going for as long as I want. So but I think that's probably just me playing it too much, maybe.
Well, yeah, there was a couple of bits. There's a bit on the map where there's like these steps, and you could get on these steps, and then the cops would crash around, and they couldn't get to you.
The bus garage is another one, isn't it? You just park on top of the buses at the bus garage, and they can't get to you.
Yeah, but they would be hovering, I tell you. They would not give up for ages.
No, man, they're right there.
So the original Most Wanted was probably one of the most well-rounded Need for Speed games. You had the police chases, you had the customization, you had the open map. It's hard to fault, isn't it? Really. If they do another reboot, they should base it on that game.
Oh, I think they tried that already, but never mind.
What with Rivals?
No, with Most Wanted.
Oh, of course, yes. Didn't quite.
Well, it shared the same name, but I think that was about it.
Yeah, not the best.
Not the best attempt.
I think we go back to the early Need for Speeds, though. But I think really its closest competitor was really the Test Drive series.
Yeah, I love Test Drive. I mean, 4, 5, I think it was, and 6. Oh, incredible! I mean, at the time, it was almost like a simulation to me. It was something different. The cars handled well. I love going into the stats of all the different cars and seeing all the breakdowns of the top speed, acceleration. It had all the fantastic cars it wanted to drive as well. You know, it looked good at the time, and you know, it's one of those series that I really did enjoy.
Well, then you're in luck because we had some very big news today, of course.
Oh yes.
Oh, wait for this one. Test Drive Unlimited is making a comeback.
It is.
It's actually happening.
Unbelievable.
Hey, I know. After all these years, big one for us.
We got the news that it's been acquired by Big Ben Interactive. Of course, they publish games like WRC and next year's Isle of Man game. Now, what we don't know is who is developing it.
Yeah.
We're speculating here it might be Kylotonn, but they seem a bit stretched at the moment, unless they're going to become the next Milestone and churn out half a dozen games every year. They are getting more active, I must say. I mean,
they are.
Incredible really to think that their first, well, it's not really their first game, but like the first game on PS4, for example, was Motorcycle Club.
The very shoddy Motorcycle Club. You know, novel concept, switching between different bikes on different road surfaces, but they just didn't pull it off, did they? But already we've seen massive improvements in their titles. You know, WRC 5 was a huge step up from Motorcycle Club, and 6 again. You know, massively improved handling. You know, graphically, bits and pieces all going in the right direction. And you know, I am excited to see what Kylotonn can come up with next year, and I'm extremely excited for another Test Drive Unlimited game because I was a huge fan of TDU 2. I actually come in at TDU 2 and then went back to TDU 1. Just phenomenal games. Love them.
Yeah, be interesting. I mean, nothing else has been revealed about it other than the fact that they've acquired the license. Obviously, Atari used to publish them, the first 2 Test Drive Limited.
Yeah, and Eden Games developed those titles. Right. And I believe some members of Eden Games actually worked on the crew.
They did, which I was about to mention actually. Do we need a new Test Drive Unlimited?
Yes,
have the crew?
yes, we do.
Yes.
Because they're very separate entities, aren't they?
Yeah, there was a certain personality to Test Drive that I felt was missing in the crew.
Because the crew was based on... You can own your sort of own house, you mean?
Yeah, it felt more like... and
dress your avatar.
Something more jovial about it. I mean, the crew was quite a serious storyline, at its core. And I think there was something just more wooden and jovial about Test Drive. I mean, it was pretty wooden.
It was very cheesy.
Yeah, so enjoyable. A lot of people said to me they had more fun watching my videos than they did playing the game themselves.
Really?
So, more fun watching somebody play it than playing it. I mean, I just used to give all of my characters like massive noses or something.
Yeah, I remember the bandages would stay on your head, wouldn't they, for a set amount of time. It was pretty crazy. I love the showrooms, though. I love discovering all the different showrooms. And, you buy these cars and you stick them in your garage, so you can have a certain house with, say, 6 to 8 garage spaces and have all your favourite cars there. And you can walk around them, get inside them, beat the horns, rev the engine, look around. And I love all that. It gives you that sense of ownership with the cars. And, the houses, okay, so a lot of people laughed at the houses, but they did have the garages, which, they did serve a purpose. You can whack all your favourite cars in certain houses, and I loved all that. I thought it was really...
It's missing now as well.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like it.
The one detail I personally miss in Test Drive Unlimited, or at least the first one, the fact you could wind down your windows.
Yeah. There's so many more driving games do that are missing from games now that you sort of think back on and think, that'd be really nice to be able to do that in a game now.
Yeah, and if you have a convertible car as well, you can wind down the roof as you're driving along. I thought that was...
You can do that in GTA 5,
I just enjoyed cruising. That's the thing as well. I just enjoyed cruising around and discovering the Beatles everywhere. Exploration. I just
absolutely
liked all of that, and just saying, right, we're going to drive off road and we're going to go that way for ages.
Exactly, because the experience was such that you could do that. You wasn't too worried about doing the missions. And I mean, the missions in the game were very lackluster. But it's one of those games where you just think, right, I'm going to go for a drive now, just for the hell of going for a drive.
Actually, I'm thinking about it. I do wonder if it is Kylotonn games, simply because one of the guys that worked on WRC 6, he was the creative director for Test Drive Unlimited 2.
Ah, okay, the plot thickens. Yeah.
So I'd be very surprised if he's not involved with it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There'll be a lot of people very excited about this release.
Yeah, it'd be good to have someone who worked on the original game, because obviously, like we said, some of them are working on the crew at Ivory Tower. So obviously, the team is a bit split now.
It's a massive undertaking, isn't it? A game such as this, huge scale welds, lots of cars. If they're going to have garages, showrooms, houses, it's an awful big undertaking. And I wonder if Kylotonn Games would be able to do this series justice. I'm not quite sure.
If it is them, yeah. But like we said, they are a bit stretched at the moment, unless they're not doing a WRC game next year.
I mean, we don't know, because who knows? The license could change hands at any moment, can't it? So, I mean, Milestone did come out last year and say that they were interested in... earlier this year, I think it was. They were interested in actually reacquiring the license, so who knows?
Yeah,
I think they've got enough to do, haven't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, we are waiting for a new game announcement from Milestone, actually. It's traditional this time of year anyway.
And Codemasters.
And Codemasters, yeah. Let's just hope it's not MXGP3 or something like that.
I think what it is everyone was steering clear of Gran Turismo, and so they didn't have anything ready to be announced now. Everyone just said, well, what's the point? Gran Turismo is going to be out there, Forza Horizon. And in fact, it's been a perfect period to get something out there, really, because there's been a bit of a hole there. And I think that Forza Horizon 3, though it looks stunning and was sold incredibly well as well, it doesn't necessarily have the longevity that perhaps some people were after in that sense. So hence the expansions are really important.
I'm still a bit conflicted with Forza Horizon 3, I must admit, because there is plenty to do. It just gets quite samey.
It's very samey. The only way that Horizon 3 is actually going to keep you interested is if you've got a group of, say, like 10 or so friends that regularly play it.
Yeah. I think I touched on it before, but I think my biggest gripe is just there's no sense of progression. Because obviously you run the festival now, you've already made it, you've got nothing to really aim for.
Yeah, and games like Test Drive Unlimited, you could drive along and you could just bump into some random online person, and I thought that was fantastic.
That was very, very novel at the time. It was really the first.
Although admittedly the servers were pretty dodgy at times. So
yeah, I remember getting the second one and I couldn't play it for a month.
There was downtime. Yeah, a month. Yeah,
it was Drive Club.
It happened.
Almost Drive Club level of bad.
Yeah, but when it worked, it was really good, and we haven't seen an experience quite like it, so I'm really happy to see it's coming back. I just hope that it can live up to previous installments.
The online aspect is going to be very important. Unlimited 1 was very good online.
Yeah.
The original one was a defining game because it was really the first MMO driving game of its kind. Obviously, the crew came and kind of expanded on that concept a bit. So it'll be really interesting to see what angle they go with for the new Test Drive Unlimited to compete with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm guessing we'll have a smaller scale map than the crew.
Oh yeah.
They'll be pretty insane to try and compete with that, I must admit.
Yeah.
Unless it has the whole world.
But it's like what we say with the crew, it's a huge world, but there's not a lot to do in it.
No, I think it is one of those games, like we said earlier with Test Drive, it's just fun to cruise around with and kind of take in the surroundings.
And of course, the maps in Test Drive were based on real-world environments as well. So,
yep.
One of the maps was a one-to-one scale rendition, I believe.
Sort of like Ibiza or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Like I said, I think I've got a feeling it is being developed by Kylotonn. I'd be very surprised if it isn't. Let's just hope it's not being made by, I don't know, Team 6 or something like that.
They were the guys that done the Burnout game, wasn't it?
The Flat Out 3.
Sorry, Flat Out, that's it. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, game that I like to erase from my memory. Because it was shockingly bad.
And on the subject of Flat Out, of course, Kylotonn are developing Flat Out 4 Total Insanities, and we've not heard anything about it, and that was not last August, but the previous August, so a long time. So hopefully we're going to get some more news on that early next year, I'd imagine. Yeah,
so they're supposed to be working on it, but they don't seem to be doing much to it at the moment.
They might come with a big announcement for a few games, who knows? It seems like something's brewing, we're going to get something soon.
Also, we've got the Isle of Man game coming out next year from them.
Yep.
So we expect to see a trailer sometime soon, I expect. But yeah, I mean, they're basically turning into the next milestone. They've got their hands full.
They are.
Speaking of which, we wait to see what milestone are going to come up with next. I really cannot guess.
No, it'd be interesting, won't it? See what they've got coming, and all these companies, their technology is improving all the time. They've always been a few years behind, but they're catching up every year. And that's, I suppose, in a way, I saw someone say about a question at the BAFTA question time they had recently about, is the game you want already available or something? Are you already happy with the game? I can't remember the exact way it's worded. And everybody went, no. And I think that's kind of the state of play this year. When you look at the games that are out there, been released, they're all sort of 7 out of 10s. And you say, is the perfect racing game released? No. Is the perfect racing game on the way? Not at the moment. There's lots of potential for the future. Things are getting there. But it is taking time I think, sometimes I wish that companies like Milestone, for example, would say, right, rather than having 300 bikes and 50 courses, I would rather 50 bikes and 15 courses that look amazing, that play amazing.
It's almost like they're becoming the next Polyphony.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's not just aimed at them, but it's aimed at developers that are making so many options. And I'm thinking, well, let's refine it down to the core gameplay, how your cars handle, how it feels in that world. The actual core gameplay is sometimes forgotten about. In terms of just trying to make a bigger package to make it sound good on the box. But yeah, I mean we'll see. I mean technology is improving all the time. It's hard for the independent developers, such as Milestone and Kylotonn, because they have to develop a lot of their own sort of coding which goes into the games. They don't get the kind of support that the big companies get in terms of Turn 10 or Polyphony, in terms of the technology that they have and the cost in terms of development. My goodness me, it's expensive. So yeah, I think they're doing really well. I think they're making steps forward. I look forward to it next year. I think WRC6, I still need to play more WRC6 really. I enjoyed what I played a bit, but I'm going to delve into it a bit further.
I was pleasantly surprised with WRC6. Same with Ride 2 really. Even though it was a bit, as with most Milestone games, it was a bit of a case of quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Like WRC6, there were some genuine improvements to it. I mean, I thought the handling was a lot better. I think they surprisingly have actually focused on key areas that needed improving, whereas before, Milestone games had a habit of just being very sort of incremental updates every year.
Yeah.
Ride 2 is the first game where we've actually kind of seen them get close to their potential a bit.
Yeah.
So I think they're improving. Same with Kylotonn games. I mean, like we said earlier, look how far they've come from Motorcycle Club to WRC6.
Yeah, Motorcycle Club was pretty damn bad, I have to say. Wow, what a terrible game.
I remember when WRC5 was announced, it said Kylotonn have acquired the license. I thought, no, really? They made Motorcycle Club? It's going to be terrible. The cars are going to feel like they're floating off the ground or something. But yeah, it wasn't the case. I think in Killotonn's case, they did outsource a few developers, though, like the creative director of Test Drive Unlimited 2, which I think really helped. It's something that Milestone should maybe consider. Yeah,
I think it would. I think it would really help them in terms of bringing in that extra talent, that extra point of view. As I understood it, that's what Turn 10 did. I mean, they took on FPS guys or something like that from Call of Duty or something, because they had really amazing graphics for certain types of textures and stuff, and they started using those effects and that approach on Forza Motorsport, which opened up a whole new area of development for them. So, there's a lot that can be said, but let's face it, those guys cost a fortune. They're the special ones. So, yeah, it's also a time-consuming. Unfortunately, a lot of these game companies are on a 2, 3, 4 year cycle of development. So they'll develop the graphics engine, then they're stuck with that for a few years. Then the next stage come and they're stuck with that for a few years and so on. So it's a slow improvement, but I think Milestone are due another little upgrade in terms of their technology. So, we'll see. But, kicking out these lots of games, I don't know how they do it, frankly. I mean, given some of these big companies struggle, but with Gran Turismo, I mean, let's see if Gran Turismo makes it. I mean, that new trailer looked really nice. But as we've said, it didn't show us anything new. It just showed us the same course. Look a bit more shiny.
Exactly. So I think just to move on a bit, another sort of racing game news, moving on to VR very quickly. There's actually been a new Need for Speed VR game announced, to our surprise. But before we get too excited, it's mobile exclusive. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Need for Speed No Limits came out, I think it was last year, for mobiles, and they're basically just making a VR version for that. Exclusive to Google Daydream, is it called? The latest Android?
No idea.
Whatever their latest wacky name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a video
really diving into the world of VR, aren't they?
Dipping their toes into it, they're kind of experimenting with...
you can't expect a big publisher to do VR because apparently it's very hard to actually make any money. So
it is. But the problem is that it's hard for people to see the potential when the big developers aren't putting something into it. Because what you end up with lots of indie games, and the indie games have to carry it.
It's a case of speculating to accumulate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting there though. I think they've sold over. I think they'll hit probably 2 million units of VR units sold, VR headsets sold.
You can get a PlayStation VR for Christmas, if you've tried by now.
No, exactly. I mean, terrible ordering from Sony. I tell you, it's amazing that people there keep their jobs. Because
it's almost really, as bad as the Nintendo Mini.
It's almost like they were expecting it to completely flop or something. It's like I didn't have confidence in the sales.
They never do, though. Look at the Move controller.
They're very poor ordering. I mean, I don't know how people keep their jobs there. I mean, they've lost the company millions and millions and millions of pounds. Somebody who works there says, nah, and they've lost like a couple of £100 million over it, or dollars, whatever. And, I just think in any other job, you'd be fired if you were that bad at your job in terms of ordering. And it's chronic how bad they are at projecting and ordering stock and manufacturing stock. It really amazes me that they don't seem to get on top of that, because now they're not selling any units for Christmas. And, of course, in a few months' time, you're going to hear about Microsoft's new VR headset that will probably be double the performance, and the goalposts will change again. So.
It's interesting. They seem to be pleased with the sales of the PlayStation Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is another product they didn't market very well, isn't it?
No. And I see people talking about it on NeoGAF. It's not massively positive. The feedback I keep seeing from people, they're talking about the noise the console makes. They're talking about that some games actually perform worse on the Pro than they do on the standard PS4. They've talked about the poor selection of 4K material in some cases. If every game supported it like Tomb Raider did, I think they'd be laughing. But
that's it. Mind you, we did have we did have a driving title this week that's got PS4 Pro compatibility.
Oh, really?
Well, loosely driving.
Yeah, it's
Kevin
technically
knows what
driving.
it is.
Yes,
Kevin, do you want to tell our audience what game it is?
Farming Simulator 17.
Because that's exactly the game that needed PlayStation 4 Pro support.
So, what game was that again?
Farming Simulator 17.
Farming Simulator 17.
I mean, I put this on the site. I thought it was very interesting because they give an option for different screen resolution. So you can have full HD, actually two.
God, those crops are going to look good in 4K. You can choose 4K, 1080p, improved draw distances,
or 1440p with 60 frames per second. Frame rate. So it's interesting that they give you a choice. I'd like to see that in future titles as well. You're sort of unlocking the hardware in any which way you sort of like. And obviously certain people prefer certain things. Some people like frame rate, Alan, and other people like increased resolution. So it's a nice little system. I thought that was interesting. I'd like to see that in more titles.
I think it's getting more common because I think because Tomb Raider did it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of developers are using that as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the game I'd have expected to get PS4 Pro compatibility, but there you go.
Why not?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's good that they've supported it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing against that. I think. I mean, like you say, I think people just wanted more of it, though. I mean, where was the Drive Club compatibility?
No, exactly. I think that's my point, really. Yeah, I mean, Farming Simulator has it, yet Drive Club doesn't. A game that could have really done with it.
It would have been interesting, I think, for some other titles to have had it. But I don't know if developers feel that they can get enough out of some titles. Like, for example, it would be great if games even like racing-wise, Dirt Rally and Sebastian Loeb Rally and Project Cars had compatibility. Project Cars, obviously, they've moved on to the next game, but with the other two, within their first year of launch, if they don't feel that they could make a massive difference, then I guess they've just decided to move on to the next title.
And with the case of Dirt Rally, because we have a complete absence of DLC, it'd be nice to have a PS4 Pro update just to sort of keep things ticking along, keep people, interest going with Dirt Rally, because at the moment it's very much died down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame. They keep hinting at something's going to happen sooner or later, but
more later than sooner.
Yeah, I mean the game has been out now for over half a year. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason to justify your ownership of a PS4 Pro if you need one. Farming Simulator 17.
Get your farming on.
Exactly. If Farming Simulator can do it, then any game can do it. But there we go. Just trawling through other news stories at the moment. This is quite interesting. Speaking of simulator games, American Truck Simulator. Quite a large game, it has to be said, in terms of its map. Has basically doubled in size by the looks of it, which is quite surprising.
Yes, it's a massive...
I know, 75% bigger, actually.
It is, yes.
Wow.
This has been in the works for like months. It's just an incredible update, free update as well, I might add. And it actually rescales the map from 135 scale to 120, which actually puts it on par with Euro Truck Simulator 2. So it's interesting why they didn't actually start with 120 to begin with, but there you go. They've seen the error of the ways and then they've fixed it for free. So it's a bit of a strange one, but it's like a bit like Test Drive Unlimited. It's one of those games where you just chill out, you put a bit of music on, and you just enjoy the driving just for the sake of the driving. So I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot out of this update. Much longer roads, new cities and towns and bits and pieces. So it's a good update, especially a free update, which is we don't see very many substantial free updates. I guess The Crew is one example where we think Yeah, the graphics and stuff. That was a fantastic update, and this American Truck Simulator update is on par with that. It's such a fundamental change, and it's good to see getting it for free as well.
That is excellent developer support. You can't grumble with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Can't.
Yeah, lots of new
That's what
cities.
updates should be, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
The problem is there's always somebody willing to pay, and I think that's the thing. If everybody boycotted some of these stupid microtransactions, they wouldn't be in games anymore. They just wouldn't put them in there.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's always like a few thousand kids who want to cheat or, get something that someone else hasn't got, and they've got their dad's credit card available all the time, and that's that.
It's kind of funny though, because you've got American Truck Simulator adding, increasing the size of the map by 75%, and then you've got the Forza Horizon 3 Blizzard Mountain, which adds probably an area that's about probably less than a quarter the size of the main map, and they're charging however much it is again, like $15.99.
It is a stark contrast, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It just shows how different the markets are.
Yeah.
Niche titles like that.
Oh, you say niche. There's a huge community around these truck simulator games. There really is.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The popularity of
running videos on it, but unfortunately, it is does take a lot of time. It's one of those sort of life suckers. You're just going to sit there for ages.
I'm so used to playing games where you break the traffic laws. I can't imagine actually obeying the law in a game.
Quite relaxing. I do on Forza Horizon 3, actually. I like to go for the odd cruise.
Yeah, I like all that.
Sometimes, I don't always want to drive at, a million miles an hour.
See, the problem with Forza Horizon, it doesn't have traffic lights.
So I thought I'd kick off from the very beginning.
No, that's true.
So you will see
Oh, doesn't it? It doesn't have traffic lights.
Or pedestrians.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's
I
true.
just forget because you're cruising a lot of the time just on these long roads.
Did any Forza Horizon game have traffic lights? I don't think they did.
No, I don't think so.
No, or pedestrians.
Yeah.
It's a game purely inhabited by cars.
Yeah.
But the
And
only people,
somehow there's like public roads that are allowing street racing constantly.
the only people that exist in Forza Horizon are the really annoying characters that constantly pester you.
Yeah.
That's like the only people that exist in that world. Oh, there we go. Right, obviously, every week we have a bit of a discussion about the Grand Tour, as we're all massive petrol heads here. I think I'm the only one that actually saw last week's, unfortunately. So I'll say this much. I don't know how much you guys want me to spoil all of it, but you're not missing much.
I remember seeing the trailer beforehand, and it was like a brick boat type vehicle. James May, was it?
That's right.
And
Yes.
I imagine that sunk.
It did. Well, it got stuck.
Oh, okay.
So basically the episode was dominated by a challenge where the presenters had to make their own environmentally friendly car. So you can imagine how that went. They have kind of done this before, though. Do you remember Jeff, the electric car that they made?
I think so, yeah.
With the green stick?
Yeah. Or there was the one when Jeremy made it's like an answer to the PLP 50 or something.
The P45.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was quite funny. They all had to make a car that was environmentally friendly. So James turned up with a car made out of mud.
Mud?
Yes, mud.
Was it raining at all?
It didn't, funny enough, although it was in England. So
Missed opportunity there.
And you had Richard. His car was made out of flowers, basically.
Flowers. This is getting worse.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't started yet. They all originated as Land Rovers, I should point out as well.
Okay.
And then Jeremy, on the other hand, being Jeremy, his car was made out of
Straw,
Sorry?
Is it straw?
No.
Okay.
Let's just say it's going to make some certain people and some certain organisations very unhappy. Because Clarkson's never caused controversy before. So his car was made out of animal skin, meat, and bones.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Seriously.
Was it raw meat or was it cooked?
It was raw meat. And it
Attractive flies,
deteriorated.
no doubt. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, goodness me.
Apparently, it got the smell was so bad. He ended up stuffing tampons up his nose.
Ah,
it was a weird episode.
Yeah. Did that form the sort of majority of the episode?
I'm afraid so. It was a two-parter again.
Right. Was there much car stuff at all?
It was a very brief car bit. It was a standard road test at the beginning.
Ah, okay.
Did
they kill off another celebrity?
Yep.
Did they? Oh no.
Yep.
Still going.
Cringe.
That's where are we now? 4 episodes in a row they've done that.
Yeah.
It was Jimmy Carr last week.
Oh, I'd have liked to have seen that actually.
He was on jet ski and he crashed into a boat.
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch that then.
Yeah, just watch that one scene.
Mm.
Yes, I mean, in terms of car content, there was a review with a Porsche 911. I think it was the GT3 RS. I don't know, all the same. Sorry, Ed. He drove that against the BMW M4 GTS, I think it was called.
Who was in the Porsche? Was it Hammond or
no?
Jezza?
Who was in the Porsche? I can't remember. I think it didn't show. I think it was Jeremy driving both of them. There's a few shots with both cars kind of racing against each other. It was just Jeremy.
Because we know Hammond's a big Porsche fan, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I was a bit surprised actually to see Clarkson do a Porsche review. They did kind of make a thing out of that.
Yeah.
He basically said, "Don't buy one because Richard owns one." But yeah, the challenge was just if you thought the
army one was cringe, wasn't it?
If you thought the special forces one was bad, this takes it a step further. Like you could see the jokes coming a mile away. I mean, James's car is made out of mud. Of course, it's going to constantly fall apart.
Mm.
Then they load some bricks on it, and they have to cross a river. So of course, it just falls apart again. It's just like really. I get they have to appeal to different audiences, but
are we just getting too old for it? Is that the problem?
I did wonder that, yeah. But the humour to me was just too obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, I was someone who laughed so much when I first saw the amphibious car challenge in Top Gear. Well, that was brilliant.
That was brilliant at the time.
Yeah, it was.
It was new. And it was new as well. It was novel, but they seem to be going over old ground, I guess. Because there's only so much you can do.
I wonder if the fact that there's such big stars now, it's almost like they're too big-headed for just down-to-earth things, and they're trying to overdo it in a way. And I think sometimes backwards is better than forwards. Do you know the funniest stuff was when they had the stuff before it came out about trying to come up with a name for a show, and they just sat around a table talking, or driving some old car, or doing something that wasn't so overly produced.
Yeah.
It's so heavily produced as a show, you can see the money is just there, but it's lost some of its soul.
What was great was the YouTube series that James May did while he was not doing Top Gear.
Of him making pies and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think at the moment they're coming at it from the wrong angle. So like before, you were talking about the amphibious car challenge. That was like, let's try and make some cars amphibious. But now they're coming at it and going, oh, let's make a car out of mud. That'll be funny.
That's also in terms of James. In terms of Jeremy's meat car, it's who should we offend? Who can we offend the most?
Yeah, I guess they're kind of scraping the barrel a bit, aren't they?
Yeah,
it was a bit provocative.
Yeah,
I think the magic could still be there because you've still got the same people doing it. Like Jeremy and the guys are really good at doing what they're doing when they're put in the right situation. But at the moment, they're just getting sent off and they're playing too much to the caricatures of what the guys are.
Yeah.
Like when they put Hammond in that Challenger.
Oh, yeah.
The other two guys were in their GT adventure. I think if it was in Top Gear, like when it used to be, all 3 of them would have chosen a really good GT car, and they would have been arguing about whose headlights are the prettiest or something the whole time, and things like that. And it would have been a bit more natural.
Yeah. It's lost. It's the amount of money they've got. They've just got too much. They Top Gear, they had no money, and they'd have to sort out, get some old bangers, and go from there. Then the personalities of the guys would take over, and they'd film a load of stuff. And no doubt, obviously, there's a lot of scripted stuff going on, but there's also a lot of improvisation as well. I just don't know whether their hearts are in it in the same way as they were. There's a part of me that feels like they're not, in a way. they're in this position now where they've got to do this, but they're not really
themselves. Like
no, it's all they're thinking too much. They're thinking too much, and I think that really they need to just, I'd just like to say, right, look, let's come up with some really simple stuff. Let's take a couple of cameras out and let's just try some things, some days out, having a laugh, and I think you'd get a lot more from it. One of the best moments was the first episode, wasn't it? When Jeremy was out there in the rain and they meet each other and drive to the event and all that. That was great. I love the camera work and the look and everything. And I thought that was great. And it was nothing to do with the scene. It was just a genuine chemistry between the guys. And and like I was saying about that ad where they were just sitting around a table talking, it didn't need razzmatazz. It just needs them doing their thing. And then the funny things will happen, the jokes will come out, and then you cut all that together and you end up with a really nice piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and I think they're just trying a bit too hard. The dead celebrity thing worked the first time, just about. They overdid it even then.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
but I think they need to show a few more cars as well, because at least the first episode was about cars a little bit with the test and all that. So
I like to think a pattern. It's like every other episode is good and bad. So the first episode was pretty good. Second one was terrible for the most part. Third one was better, and now we've got this one. So in that sense, the next one should be great.
Yay!
I don't know if you guys see the trailer, but it does look promising. It looks like a very sort of old school road trip.
Another road trip, yeah. Okay. Mind you, I suppose they're going to be doing road trips every other episode now.
Well, like it could be a road trip that actually dominates the whole episode.
Yeah,
it looks like a special.
I imagine.
Remember the Botswana one and the Vietnam one in Top Gear.
I mean, they're doing specials every episode now, really, aren't they?
Yeah. When I first saw the show was announced, that's what I kind of thought of. What does that mean? In every single episode is going to be some extravagant road trip?
Because that's what sort of put them into the stratosphere, wasn't it? I remember they started doing little specials here and there in Top Gear, and people really enjoyed it, so they've done more of it, and then it just became essentially an entertainment program from there, really. Yeah,
I do kind of wish as well sometimes that the episode that the location that each episode is set in actually related more to the films.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah,
the first episode was set in America, and they went to Portugal in the main film.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it would be great if they were doing a grand tour and they said, this week we're driving across this country, and as they get to each point, other things happen and stuff like that, and learn a bit about the country maybe, or the cars in that country. We're going to drive local crap cars or something. Whatever it is, I think there's a lot they could have done that they haven't done, given the unlimited resources they've had. I think
it's good to learn more about the car culture of each region that they visit.
Wouldn't that be great?
They kind of did that in the South African one, in fairness, with the spinning bit. Remember that?
Well, that's what I mean. It's to do with all that kind of stuff that they need to bring into it, and I think it would make the grand tour much more flowing. Forget the American on the test track. He
was in it again. By the way, he made a comeback.
No, did he? Bloody hell!
He was toned. I'll say this: that he was toned down. He had one liner, and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the show may evolve into more sort of serious stuff. I guess it's the first season; they've got a lot of money behind it, a lot of pressure. They just want to get numbers. They want to get subscriptions. They want to be as bombastic as possible. So it could evolve from you might get more sort of intricate stuff in the future, I guess. But the first season really has to be about capturing people's imaginations and being entertaining, just to get those subscriptions.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So I think then just to finish, speaking of franchises that are going to be a bit past their prime, we had a trailer for a certain film which relates to cars. Can anyone guess what that might be? It makes a ton of money every single year for reasons beyond me.
What, they're making a new Chitty Bang Bang or something?
No, we had a trailer for The Fate of the Furious, as it's called, or as it's going to be called in the UK, Fast and Furious 8.
Yeah. You know what? I haven't watched it myself, but I'll say this first. I have to admit, I'm not a fan of the Fast and the Furious. I've actually got the original on DVD. Right, saw the original film. The original film was a bit of a rip-off of the film Point Break.
Yes, it was
with Keanu Reeves. It is almost a direct rip-off. Basically, cop goes undercover, gets to know gang of cool guys doing cool stuff. sort of becomes part of them, becomes too close and all that business, and then it all goes bad at the end. And I like the first film. The second film was a bit naff, and then the third film it completely changed again into this sort of unrealistic sort of driving scenes and stuff. And then after that, it all went a bit.
Actually, say the third one is one of the most well-regarded films in the franchise. That was Tokyo Drift.
I couldn't stand Tokyo Drift. It just went downhill from 3 for me. I mean, 2 was very confusing, the plot lines.
I didn't like 2 at all.
And after 3, it was all about explosions and stunts, and it never looked back from there, really.
See, I'm biased because I love things like that. I just love anything with cars exploding and crashing. That's just me. But I know what you mean. It's
a little bit OTT, yeah.
I'm completely OTT.
Well, yeah,
it's fantasy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get the impression that each film that comes out now is just trying to outdo the last one in terms of how ridiculous can we make our stunts.
Yeah.
I think the last couple as well, they've sort of ended them in a way that would mean that it's like finished now. Or is it?
It's going to be one last ride, brother.
I think they've got contracts got contracts for 10 of these films.
9 and 10, that's right.
Yeah.
9 and 10 is
unbelievable.
It's as big as Star Wars.
Where does it go from here? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It probably end up in space as well, actually. So.
I always think that every time a new one comes out. Where can they go next?
It's going to happen at some point, isn't it? Something's going to happen to a car, and he's going to end up driving into a rocket, and it's going to go up somewhere, and then the car's going to be able to exit the rocket, and then he's got to somehow land on a capsule, and then that capsule will float down, and it'll fire off a parachute, and it'll drive off the capsule, and it'll be all right.
Exactly. So, I mean, in the last film, then we had cars, parachuting cars out of an aeroplane. That was that was realistic.
Yeah.
So, by the looks of it, then this film's going to outdo that one. Just judging from the final scene, there's a big set piece in Iceland.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this, but a big submarine comes out.
It breaks all the ice. Doesn't it? It's really amazing. I guess in many ways it sort of draws parallels to the Grand Tour, the trio. It's just getting more and more ridiculous, isn't it?
I wonder if the submarine bit is. We're going to have calculations of how long the lake or whatever they're on, how long it is, like the runway.
Oh yeah, the never-ending runway in number 6.
Yeah.
That was funny. But in terms of plot, though, not that these films have much plot, or I can't think of many people that actually watch these films for the plot. But when I saw the trailer for Fast and Furious, I immediately thought to myself, "Wait, this is basically Captain America's Civil War with cars." It is.
I like the scene where the cars are shooting out the chains.
I quite like that.
Dom's car, and there's like 5 of these cars all attached to Dom's car via chains that are shooting out of the headlights or whatever it is, and it's quite bonkers.
He's just like, come on then. My car
he's like,
turn his tyres into fire.
Yeah, he's probably got enough torque there.
No, I think the moment the series kind of jumped the shark into implausibility, should we say, was Fast and Furious 5 with that bank vault scene.
Yeah.
All the cars are towing a massive bank vault down the street.
Impressive stunt, but
yeah. Also, you can't really fault the stunt work in these films, really, in some ways. I know they're not realistic, but they are spectacular. And they are entertaining.
Yeah, as a technical showcase, phenomenal. It takes a lot of organisation and money as well, and it's you're never going to be sort of bored, I guess, watching these films. There's always going to be some explosion or stunt, around the corner.
And also, just to give the series credit, there are some quite interesting cars occasionally.
And tanks.
I remember with like Tokyo Drift, that was really cool being able to spot cars that I recognise. Like in scenes you won't realise as well. There's one scene where the girl takes the dude out for like a mountain drift, and there's like 4 or 5 cars all in a row, and a couple of those are like D1 drivers and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it's that guy. Oh yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah, it's like when I watched the first Fast and Furious, loving Gran Turismo at the time, and just seeing all these wonderful cars that you don't often see in car films, like a lot of Japanese cars and stuff, and it's really cool at the time. I mean, that Nissan Skyline in Fast and Furious 1, to this day looks amazing, and it blew my mind at the time. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I was seeing like Heiichi Tsuchiya fishing in Tokyo Drift. Not a lot of people would realise that he's there, and he's like looking over at the guy trying to learn how to drift. He's like, "Oh, total noob." It's like,
we don't really get many dedicated car films like this anymore, apart from Fast and Furious. I suppose the last alternative one was the Need for Speed film.
Oh god,
Cars 3's coming out soon, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And like Fast and Furious, it has a darker tone, judging from the trailer.
Oh yeah, that upset a lot of kids, didn't it?
He'll be okay. It's a Disney film. We shall see. Kevin, you're not a fan of the Need for Speed film, I take it?
No, I didn't actually watch it in its entirety, really. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. But
I would say watch it again purely for the stunt work. It is some of the best practical stunt work I've ever seen.
It is. They did crash a lot of cars.
That's the thing with Fast and Furious. A lot of it, let's be honest, is CG. Like, for example, in the last one where the car goes through 2 skyscrapers.
And I'm not sure which episode, which number it was, but yeah, you do notice CG when you see like the bendy cars when they turn. You can see a slight bend in them, so you know it's all sort of CG. It's not quite there, you know. It's
no, I do recommend watching Need for Speed just purely for the practical effects.
Yeah, I'll get back onto that soon.
It's a very old school car film in that regard, like Bullet and Vanishing Point and films like that.
Great films, yeah.
Yeah, which are very rare now. You don't really see films like that.
No.
Anyway, I think that's really mostly it for this podcast. We are hoping to do another Q&A this episode. Obviously, we started that last week. I'm just going to check the social medias. So yeah, we have all of one question this week.
Sweet.
Okay, so one question on Twitter from Rick Hendricks. He's asking, do you think F1 2017 and Project Cars 2 will use PlayStation VR? Interesting question. It's difficult to say, really. I mean, Project Cars, obviously, you'd have thought if it was going to have PlayStation VR compatibility, it'd be out by now, but it's such an intensive game. It's hard to really scale down.
You won't see it in an old game. It wasn't made.
Oh, no, he's asking Project Cars 2, actually.
Project Cars 2, yeah. No, F1 17, I think it's highly likely. The game already runs frames per second. So it's not like they need to increase the frame rate massively. They'll reduce the visuals to pop it into VR. I think the only problem they could have is would they have to reduce the amount of cars in a race?
I'll be very surprised, actually.
They're not allowed to do that, so it might mean a big visual reduction, like Drive Club.
Yeah, or you might have a separate
big difference between the standard and the pro models in terms of.
I would say a separate mode would be the way forward.
I think so. Yeah, like Gran Turismo. I think in Project Cars 2 at least.
Practice.
I'll say more likely with Project Cars 2.
Yeah.
I have to say it's really difficult to say because you think that they're going to have, like, say, some kind of compatibility, like Gran Turismo is going to have, but it might be limited modes.
Yeah,
that's the likelihood of. The PlayStation isn't that powerful for providing a VR experience, so it's a shame because the driving genre, is incredible with VR, but
it's tailor-made for VR. That's the problem.
Yeah, tailor-made, but it's it's quite technically it's quite heavy in terms of the data, and so that's and the resolution. You need a good resolution because you're looking into the distance the whole time. And that's the problem. You're looking at about 2 pixels all the time. It just gets all a bit, even when you have a Vive or an Oculus Rift, it's still quite pixelated when you're looking, a few meters down the road. So possibility, but you expect a cut down experience at this stage. I'd say if anyone can do it, Codemasters can do it. Because they have such good tech and they already run at 60 frames. I think that's a critical thing. Remember, Drive Club ran at 30 frames.
Yes.
So Formula One already runs at 60. So they're already over halfway there.
So Project Cars.
Project Cars, struggles, doesn't it? Project Cars, it's between 50 and 60, depending on what's going on. And they really pushed hard with that graphics engine. I think they'll have an optimized engine for Project Cars 2 to hit 60 there. But there is so much going on in Project Cars with time of day and weather and everything. I think you might see some of that removed for the VR mode.
Yeah, if I was to hazard a guess, I'd probably say maybe a separate mode like we're about to see in Gran Turismo Sport.
Which is disappointing, isn't it? Because We just assumed it would be the full experience. Silly old us, and it just seems like it's going to be a small portion of the game. It's a shame.
Understandable, though, isn't it?
If Pokemon VR, for example, is the current benchmark, it doesn't really bode well.
I'm just impatient. I want games to fully embrace VR. I want full experiences in VR. And, I guess Resident Evil 7, when that comes out, that'd be the first real, massive game that will support VR fully as a full experience. So I think that could pave the way for titles to follow. I think it's a really important title, that one.
Yeah, at least we have Star Wars Rogue One VR experience. Have you tried that yet, actually, Kevin?
No, because you have to have the full game to play that.
Oh yeah, completely forgot about that.
Yeah, which I just assumed the demo would play as a separate piece, but sadly not.
No, it's not like Call of Duty in that regard.
No.
Yes, good timing, because obviously Rogue One's out this week, which I had to throw in somewhere.
Absolutely.
Lots and lots of excitement for them.
Can't wait. Yeah, I mean, people who have seen it so far say it's excellent. The general consensus from people is excellent.
I'm hearing things like the best film since Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I mean, people saying, they say it builds up as it goes on, and once the action kicks off, like sort of halfway in, it's just relentless. Apparently, it really is really tense action. So
cannot wait.
Yeah. It's great. Can't wait. Oh my god, can't wait. And then after that, we've got a year to wait after that till episode 8. Boom.
Exactly.
It's quick. Yeah.
Before we waffle on for Star Wars for about half an hour, probably, which we're very capable of doing.
So it's just the one question tonight, then. Come on, viewers, sort it out.
I'm a bit surprised. I read about 10 last week.
Yeah.
I'm sort of just throwing it out there, thinking, we'll get 1 or 2.
I think what we'll do next week is we'll ask the question a bit earlier.
Yeah, that's my fault. I've asked it earlier.
Yeah.
And then maybe do another follow-up or something.
Yeah.
We'll plan it better next time. This is our last one of the year. We need some questions.
Yeah, next time. Absolutely.
Anyway, I think that's pretty much it now from us. Anyone else have anything else to add?
Nope.
Nothing from me.
No. Okay, well, that is it from us then for this podcast. Thanks, as always, for listening. And if you do have any questions, do let us know, and we will answer them next time. And we'll see you then. Goodbye. Obviously, you've got the main part of it is obviously the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh bloody hell!
Good job, we're not live.